Okay, great. Thanks. All right. So we are still dealing with the virus, and we are still dealing with President Trump, and we're still dealing with the world situation at hand. And despite that, trust me, all things will get better, because there's a lot of work going on that you're not aware of. That's a really important reality, is that what I do is from Shambhala, and Shambhala is a group of Buddhas, or incarnated Buddhas, who have previously incarnated or going to incarnate. They all live in Shambhala, and these are all the highest initiates of our planet. And they're my students, and we work and are in the higher mind of technological advancements. It doesn't matter where it's from, what planet it's from. It stems from Shambhala. So there's not another a higher source of this level of reality that the Buddhas are working with. So I represent that. I'm the head of Shambhala. So being here, it's quite an advantage for the human race, to have me the one who shows up, not one of my disciples, which has been going on for quite a while. And in most cases, I work through my disciples to develop a relationship with people like Einstein or Tesla or other highly advanced people. But I work through my disciples to do that. I don't do that personally. I talk to them, my disciples. I explain the theories that have not been invented yet, which could be electricity, it could be matter, it could be anti-gravity, it could be how far we are from a planet and what each planet looks like and what the relationship of that planet is to the solar system that it comes from. I actually give that information. You don't. It's not even a possibility. But in my mind, it is more than a possibility. Because there's no refraction of glamour, or a process of vice, or a process of illusion. It's total Buddhahood. So in Buddhahood, there is a sharing ability to overshadow humanity, or individuals, or even trees, or rocks, or etheric weavers. I do that. I overshadow, because things could be dense, things could be backwards, things could be the very opposite of what you see. And I overshadow to a degree of truth and balance and harmony that brings everything back to its original state, and then it begins again. So it doesn't matter if it's a tree or if it's a person, but when it comes down to social belief systems, I don't take it in consideration. It's not a part of my thought form. My thought form has to do with what it is that people need, not what you got going on. Because I really don't care. It doesn't have anything to do with me or the future. 95% of whatever you've got going on will not exist in 500 years. And that's where I'm at. So there has to be a lot of dying and a lot of suffering in relationship to letting go of those things that are causing you your suffering and causing you all your problems. And you'd be driving down the road for the next 200 years in a vehicle with your pride pushing the pedal and, hitting the brake and making all kinds of mistakes and getting cops freaked out, thinking that every human being is not a law-abiding citizen, and all these things that happen because you're not perfect. And you think you are. And you're not. So there are cops. There is certain laws in order to try and put things back into order. Because everybody's nuts. And everybody's moving things in their own personal way. So I don't take any of that in consideration. None. That's your own doing. Yeah, has nothing to do with me. So I created another world lapped up right on top of yours. Yeah, you're not asking me for it. You're not suggesting it, because in reality, it's killing your future. Yeah, everything that you would do in your next life isn't even going to be there for you to do it. So that means you're gonna have crazy stuff going on inside your head. Yeah, things where your delusions and your illusions that put those things into the reality that we're in today, you're going to have to dispel them. And they're not going to be there to dispel. So you're just going to go nuts. You're going to have an emotional process. You're going to have a physical process. Those usually turn out to be diseases and many different kinds of occurrences that happens in people slapping you around and beating you when you're a child, or hollering at you when you're weak. All those are things that come from your culture. And if I take those cultures away, then you still have the energy. You still have the vibration. You still have the circumstances. So they're going to come at you in a crazier way than they would if it was just about you wanting dolls. Yeah, because dolls won't be here. Yeah. Yeah. But people's illusion will still remain. Yeah. Oh, I'm a princess. I'm a fairy queen. Yeah. Yeah. The whole illusion, the whole entire process that people just don't take the time to grow up and mature their reality that they need to mature, like enter a monastery, meditate every day, and write down your vices. Write down your inhibitions. Write down what happened to you when you were a kid. Write down what happened to you the last time you remembered that you were betrayed or treated badly, or you treated someone else badly. Write it down, because your brain hasn't got it. Yeah, your brain won't hold on to it. You'll blame someone else. If you don't actually write it down and then look at it and consider it, it'd be very hard to get rid of. And you don't go out and ask people forgiveness. You don't go out and do anything like that. You just need to look over your life and change it that day, and be willing to not invest any more energy into what it is you need to change. Yeah, those are standard things. If you entered into Tibetan Buddhism, or you entered into a true classic form of Buddhism, your teacher would tell you these things. You have to write these things down, and you have to do all kinds of things that are called piths. Yeah, things that help you purify yourself. Yeah, and things that absolutely have no value to you whatsoever. Yeah, they're not dolls, it's not money, it's not food or health, it's not anything. Yeah, it's things that have nothing to do with you. Yeah, but has to do with an offering. Yeah, so you got to spend the time to make it right, or your teacher's going to just pick it up and throw it into the trash. Because that's not an offering. That's you. You want to get credit for this object that you're making, whether it be a candle, yeah, or whether it be a statue, yeah, or different types of ceremonial images that are done in Tibetan Buddhism when we do a ceremony. All the monks and nuns have to learn how to make these things. And when you do it, you have to think in your mind a certain way. You have to behave in a certain way. You have to clean yourself up while you're doing it. Then you got to do prostrations, yeah. And most people cannot do one prostration to a master. They have to be told to do it. There's nothing in them by nature that tells them to take a knee and pray to the master's feet. Yeah, nothing inside their soul tells them to do that. Yeah, but the higher initiates have an automatic sense when they see a master. They stop, they put their hands together, they bow, and they wait until the master's done doing whatever they're doing. Moving along, doing whatever they're doing. Yeah, that's a natural course. It is the nature when you have virtues. It's a nature. But this isn't our culture, you know. So everything I've just said is totally in another world. Yeah, it's another world. If I was to ask anybody to become a monk or a nun and ask any of these things that should be done, to be done, it would turn into a cult in the mind of that person. Therefore, it'd be a serious breach of reality toward the master. Yeah. Yeah. So in America and other places, you simply cannot teach neophytes. You can't teach people who actually want to try and become spiritual and go through the different ordinations that it takes to get to that point, which is, you know, like 30 years of studying meditation and under a specific teacher and not leaving the building, not leaving the place, you know, but in service at 100%, you know, and learning from that. But in most cases, in this world, at this point in time, the teacher can't speak to the student or ask for any ceremonial offering whatsoever, because it's not the nature of the student. It's not the nature. You can find that in the Catholic school, you can find it in other places that make you think it's the nature, make you think that you can don these clothes and you can do these things and you can walk down the aisle with a candle or something like that, and that it has some real reverence to it. Yeah. But where I come from, no, you really have to actually purify yourself, get to the point of reverence. Yeah. And then you can begin making these little items for an offering. Whether going out and picking flowers, you know, and picking them right without harming the flower or harming anything else, yeah, and doing all those things in order to make an offering, yeah. But those are normal things when it comes down to transmuting the process of your future karma, not your past karma, but future karma, because this way, when you're doing this, you're instilling inside yourself your behavior to be different. So you're not making karma. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. It's not about clearing your karma. That'll get done. Yeah. You got all the time in the world to clear your karma. But learning how to not make karma anymore. That's what happens in Buddhism. That's what happens in this reality. So until that happens, which is going to be a long time from now, till that happens, I have to come, yeah? And I have to come with a whole bunch of masters of wisdom who can't externalize because they're inside of chaos. Yeah? They're inside of a whole lot of other stuff. They cannot externalize in any way, shape, or form. So my work is with the new group of world servers and overshadowing advanced realities that are not part of humanity, but they're a part of saving humanity from themselves. Yeah. They have no idea that they're doing this sort of thing. In 1948, humanity was at a certain level to where they were able to move someone into getting a gun and taking it and put it in the heart of Gandhi and shoot him in the chest. Yeah? An assassination of a holy man is a very bad cultural situation. Very bad. Yeah? Within the next 12 years, 3 more saints were shot and killed. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Bobby. Yeah? That's karma. That's collective karma. That's people not making any change. They're just smoking away, drinking away, living in their way, you know, and doing what's going on. But that keeps them in such a state of inertia. There's nothing they can do to stop the events and things that are going on behind the scene. Yeah? Like Russian conspiracies or processes of the CIA in a negative reality, or political situations that are negative in reality. And they're behind the scene. You don't know they're going on. Yeah? And they're harming us, and they keep harming us. And we have no idea that they're going on because we have no way of coming to that understanding. Yeah. So if we get ourselves up and think, wow, we're going to vote, you know, we're going to do something to be a part of this political process. Yeah. But in you think about it, it's only been going on for about 100 years. Have you had the right to vote and vote for presidents? We've only had so many presidents. They only go 4 years at a time, at most 8 years, you know. So that's not a long time, yeah. And our process of voting, not everybody voted, yeah. Not everybody was elected in proper fashion and proper relationship, yeah, because they get killed soon afterwards, like Lincoln. Yeah, he never finished his job. He never was able to live his life. Kennedy wasn't able to live his life. Bobby wasn't even able to become president. Yeah, Martin Luther King just made a few great speeches. Yeah, Gandhi changed all of England's relationship to Satan and being able to heartlessly take over a whole continent and make them your slaves during the central period of the awakening period of humanity. You know, when television and telephones and all kinds of things were being ushered into the world, and at the same time, England was so barbaric that they would take a whole country and ruin its spiritual integrity. Ruin it. And that's where our spiritual integrity comes from. The Queen alone took the crown right off of Shiva and put it on her crown. So Shiva, if he ever incarnates, he has no crown. It's on a woman, yeah, who thinks she is the ruling queen of earth. And this is all the people of England are the embodiment of that person. That's how it works. Yeah? There's no such thing as, I'm English, but I'm not the queen. It's not true. You're English, and you're the queen, and you're the king, and you're everything that has to do with your group. And it's the same with America. Yeah? You can elect in Lincoln, and you can also shoot him. Yeah? That's America. We elect him, we shoot him. If we have any difficulties back and forth, we lie. We deceive. And we get people so into propaganda, they can't make any good decisions. And that went on for a long time. America was deeply rooted in propaganda. And there was no way the average person could make a proper decision. Yeah? Everything was, you know, whether it be Gerald Ford, or not Gerald Ford, but Henry Ford. You know, you think he's a great guy, but in reality, he didn't pay anybody any money. You know, he was ruthless. He wouldn't allow unions to come in. He worked people to the bone over so many hours. Even young kids were put through that process. Yeah, and he took advantage of people. Yeah, so that he can put out a $150, $200 car. Gosh, if he had just raised it to $100 more per car, he could have paid his workers a normal amount of income. But instead, he wanted to seem like he was the guy who was making the world better by putting out these inexpensive cars and mass production, causing people a horrendous lifestyle that they couldn't get out of. Yeah, and that went on to the steel company. It went on to all these different industries. All did the same. Yeah, all did the same. And that's pretty bad karma. That's really rotten karma. That's social disease. Yeah, that comes into humanity. And it's really hard to get rid of it. Yeah, so all of a sudden, I come and incarnate in 1951, and I bring with me all my plan that I developed for over the last 200 years before I ever got here. I sat down with masters. I laid down what is a TV, what is a telephone, how that telephone works toward a computer, how computers become smaller, called micro, and how that then brings us in to the understanding of the electron at higher levels, to the point of light, to the point that we can actually measure light. You can't do that without the computer. You can't do that without technology and all these things. And in order for us to get past the delusionary side of people giving ideas and keeping every in a state of inertia, everything's being moved by my thought forms. Yeah, I'm not asking anybody if they can figure out how to make a radio this big. Yeah, I did it. Yeah. And I worked the whole thing, transistors, diodes, the whole trip. By the time I was 11 years old, I had made my first transistor radio, and they had just been produced. So I was able to take a transistor radio and reproduce one within less than a week. And it worked. Yeah. So, and it was big. It was a big radio. And I broke it down to being a really small radio. In less than 2 months, Japan was putting out small transistor radios almost identical to the one that I created. Yeah. So I learned, hey, I should spend more time doing this sort of thing. So I developed the space program, I developed solar, I developed windmills, I developed electric cars, I developed the need of type of battery. There had to be many different types of batteries, so I went through 12 different types of batteries up to the point of lithium. And that was in 1962. And lithium was there. It was available. It was a battery that was being produced in 1962. Yeah. You just need to study Mechanics Illustrated and things like that and go to the library a lot, like I did. And I could find out what's in our society, and I could lay it on top of each other. And I would just sit there and think about it and draw it and write it down on a piece of paper. And I didn't have to wait more than 2 to 3 months. And I would see it in a magazine, for sale, in the back of a comic book, for sale, things that are so cheap and so easy. Yeah. All the different things, that I would come up with. Yeah. And I would move things all the way, to the point of even stopping nuclear war. Yeah. Everybody's wondering in politics, how do we keep nuclear weapons from being in Cuba and not go to war with Russia? In complaining about that, how do we get them to move them? Yeah. We have to be in a position to where we're willing to move our missiles that are doing the same thing to them, and nobody knows about it. Yeah, we got to take them out of locations that are right on the borderline of Russia, like Alaska, or Turkey, certain locations. Yeah, come to find out, that's exactly what happened. Kennedy just went, well, okay, look, we've got these nuclear missiles aiming at Russia. They're on your border. We'll move ours if you move theirs. But that was never really put in the news. There was a barricade, there was ship barricades, there was all this supposed threatening things. But the real negotiation was what I wrote down personally on a piece of paper. That we have the same thing going on right on the border of Russia somewhere. And the only thing we can negotiate is moving those, and they'll move theirs. And in the end, that's exactly what happened, and that came out in the news. So I keep moving. This is by early 1960s, 61, when Kennedy first gets into office. Yeah. And I become very well aware that he's not going to live. He's going to be shot. And there are many people who are going to be shot. And this is really, there was no way I could make any changes in that. Yeah. Not a thing I could do. Yeah. The only thing I could do was continue focusing on the things that's overshadowing these people. So I get him, before he got killed, get him to say, we're going to land on the moon. And we're going to do these particular things in order to create advanced things to happen in the world. Yeah. By getting him to do that, that ushered in a whole new advanced era that would last for at least 3 to 4 generations of presidents that I could overshadow. To move us out of nuclear warheads on top of those rockets. Instead, I put people on top of the rocket, put satellites on top of the rocket, put all different types of space program equipment on top of the rocket, land people on the moon on top of that rocket. Yeah, put both Russia and America emphasize that they're the ones who could do this. Yeah, and they did it. They pulled all that off, and they worked together in the international spaces and everything. And right now, we're at a completely different reality with Russia. completely different reality, simply because I advanced Russia rather than Russia being as poor as dirt and everybody eating potatoes and no one having bread and no one having rice and having to live off like as though you're North Korea. That's the way it was in the 60s in Russia. I saw that, and that needed a change. So I offered both the United States and Russia a financial way out. Advance your technologies. Yeah, advance your technologies. Get out of coal, get out of oil, get out of all these things that you're going to go into and you're doing right now, but focus on higher advanced technologies. So right now, Russia is probably one of the most advanced technological groups that's on the planet, and they're moving all kinds of people into the colleges and into the universities that are specifically designed for engineering and advanced technologies. Yeah. And that's going to cross over to the whole world, not just Russia. Yeah. So these things get shared. These things get into a state of cooperation. But the main thing that comes out of it is that people are not as poor, and there are billions of people who have jobs that are well paid that would have never been like that. Never been like that. And what you would have had is a highly frustrated, highly anxious, it's because of you guys we're this way situation in Russia. Right now, they're looking at us like we're brothers and sisters. Yeah, two brothers hanging out in the same boat, having the same problems, negotiating the same deals, being able to deal with things in a right political arena through overshadowing, just by overshadowing. Yeah. So that changed Russia. Then I had to do the same thing for China, and they took over Tibet. Yeah. So that pushed me into going into Tibet and becoming the Buddha of Tibet and the Buddha of India. Yeah. The Buddha of America, the Buddha of the planet. By overshadowing that, I began overshadowing the spontaneous process inside of Chinese people. They're Buddhist by nature. They're Shaolin, they're Zen, yeah, they're Taoist, yeah, Confucius, yeah. They have so much inherited in them, yeah, that's in them. And tens of thousands of high initiates can recapitulate and come back into their incarnation in China. And they become highly advanced, technically engineering quality people that can work things out without it having to be socialism or these isms, but just high mind. And where there's a problem, we fix it. Yeah? And we don't leave it to assume that somebody else is going to do it. Assumption dies out by the year 2050. Yeah? All the leaders no longer have assistants who assume, and people like that who assume anymore. Computers are running the game. Yeah? We have to read a whole lot. We have to become highly educated. We have to know exactly what we are supposed to know and not assume that someone told us the truth or that this is the right information for this particular thing. All the higher people who are running the world right from now on are in that higher mind of no assumption whatsoever. Yeah, they're 100% in the body, looking at the situation and dealing with it. Every major person on a political arena was being overshadowed. Even the guy in Korea, is being overshadowed by me so that he would be stepped up to a higher mind. Now, recently, his sister is not that available. Yeah, she has never been that available for overshadowing. Yeah, she's one of the meanest dictators you'll ever come across. Yeah, but he is a lot nicer guy than you'll ever imagine. Yeah, and because of that, he stopped a major war this week. Yeah, last couple of days. Yeah, there was going to be this really big war between South Korea and North Korea. And they had arms, they had tanks, and they had missiles aiming at each other, and the war was to begin within 2 days. Yeah? And this is all, if you look at the news, you'll find that this is all true. This is exactly what it was. We were in the middle of a potential nuclear war. Yeah? And the sister started it. She started it. First, she She destroys South Korea's negotiation building. Yeah. Then she destroys all the high technology buildings that are right next to that South Korea building, because this is going to be a cooperative technological educational center, yeah, involved with South Korea and North Korea. These are the same people. South Korea and North Korea. There is no South Korea and North Korea. Yeah, there's only these one people. So overshadowing them is not that hard, but overshadowing the leaders is really hard. Yeah. So my difficulty is his sister. And he literally stepped up today. He stepped up, walked on stage, sat down, and said, I'm going to call off the war. Yeah. We're not going to do it. Yeah. No green light. Yeah. We were 100% on with the war, destroy South Korea, and take the troops into South Korea, and take over South Korea, and begin socializing South Korea, normalizing it, they call it. Yeah, and this was, according to them, this was to be under the long-term relationship of China, that they would not go against it. Yeah, there wouldn't be a war against China. It would just be mainly, and this is all crazy shit. Yeah, because there's no way it would work like that. Nothing like that would ever work. Yeah, so I overshadowed North Korean Kim Jong, and he was very capable, and many people think he's dead. Many people think he's too sick to walk. Many people think he's not got it together, But he's gotten enough together to be overshadowed by me, yeah. And that is a major thing. And I'm doing the same thing with China. Yeah. So in America, it was very difficult to overshadow this place because everybody is into astrology. Yeah. Now, if you go to North Korea, not a lot of people are into astrology. Yeah. And you go to China, everybody's into astrology. I mean, everything is astrology. You don't get up and go do something without astrology and a whole bunch of other ceremonial knick-knack rhythm things that you think are reality, like your blood type. In Japan, it's so bad that if you have any particular blood type, that if you do something wrong, all you got to do is just say, "Oh, I'm a type B." Oh, that makes sense. No ticket. Lighter sentence in jail. And but the worst thing, you don't get hired. You don't get hired because of your blood type. 80% of the people have a blood type in Japan that doesn't allow them to get hired at higher levels just because of their freaking blood type. So I am against any talk about blood type, because to me it's like talking about racism. People do not have the integrity of a doctor to talk about blood type and then deal with blood type accordingly. Instead, they add personality traits and certain characteristics as though it's a type, and it's not. Yeah, it's just the blood itself. Yeah, and it has an agent to it that makes it go one direction or the other, and all these things do go on, and there are all kinds of biochemical realities to it. But there's no such thing as that blood type. But it's easier to join into that belief system, and all of us have a tendency to go, try and find, divination in some form. And that one went to divination. Yeah, it's just unimaginable. So in America, we have the process to where we have the most advanced, and because we have a continent that is a 2-6, yeah, and due to it being a 2-6, that is one of the top ray packages for disciples of Christ. Yeah, for people to be attuned to Christ, because the ray package of Christ when he was Jesus was a 2-6. Yeah. So this continent is the embodied continent of Jesus Christ. Yeah. And that's not just Jesus Christ. It's Shiva. Yeah. It's everything that ever happened in Egypt came from America. All the people who built the temples, all the people who taught everything, actually they came from America, inside of caves, living under the earth. Yeah? And it's a historical reality, but it's nothing that has been found yet. But in America is the greatest natural temples and temples that have ever been built. And they go back 50 million years. That's a long time. Yeah. And that is part of our ability to change, to be overshadowed by the Christ, and to allow everything that's going in the wrong way, everything that could be very dense, and all of us working in coal mines, one generation after another, after another, after another. Yeah. I mean, to where all of a sudden we never work in a coal mine again, and they're closed down, and the whole thing is not, all the wasted water and all the polluted water is now turned into solar lakes. Yeah. All the cities, yeah, there were all these buildings and everything, now all their freeways have been ended. Yeah. And they have trees growing, and they have been completely restored back to their to even better than the way it would be naturally. Yeah. Places that we would have waterways in the middle of the city. Yeah, just to keep water flowing. Those things we don't need anymore, because we have a totally different way of negotiating water. Yeah. Where our toilets are recyclable. You know, we don't have water coming into toilets or going out of toilets. That's the future. But there's nothing in the mind of people going, well, I'm never going to have a toilet that doesn't require water. Yeah. Where in your mind you should be thinking, I have no reason to have a toilet that I don't want a toilet. This is an ecological disaster. You know, things like that are the influences for us to change. Yeah. But these things are going to happen without our desire to change. They're just going to come in the way that they do. Yeah. And the overshadowing goes into the lower body. Yeah. Into the chakras that are down at the sacral center and down at the solar plex and down at the base. Those chakras become servant oriented. Yeah. They're connected to the reality that it's the Lord that provides. You don't serve the Lord serves you. That's a different world than what you're expected. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's thinking, oh, I'm not worthy. You know. But in reality, the Lord lifts you up. Yeah? Does that make sense? Lifts you up. And there's nothing you're doing that's getting you up. Yeah? He lifts you up despite every single thing that's going on. He lifts you up. Equally. Yeah? Every single person has a right to have one of those little transistor radios. Every single person has a right to have an Apple phone or a variety of different phones that they would choose, simply because they have a personality. But as time goes on, things get cheaper and better and more right use, because we don't have that thing to where we have to have, I can't use an Apple because it's an Apple. You know, that crazy ass way of thinking. Yeah. I can't drive a Ford, you know, because I'm a Chevy guy. Well, that's going to die too. And all these things, even the thought of Tesla, as though that's a car. It's not a car. Yeah, it's a vehicle. It's a transport system. As time goes on, you won't even have a key to that car. You won't have a license to drive the car. You won't have an owner's license of any kind that you own the car. Yeah, that will go so far away. So far away. Yeah, imagine you leave that behind. You leave behind all the costs to having that great big vehicles in your driveway. Yeah, your husband's got a truck, and then he's got a van, and then you've got a station wagon and a little car, because you like to get around with the kids in a little car, and they like to drive it. And holy moly, at least 3 cars to a family. The teenagers have to have a car. Mom and dad has to have a car. But in the future, we'll have no cars, 0 cars. And we all have to have houses, and we look out and we see other people with houses, and oh my God, you got your basketball players, and they got their right to have a mansion and have 30, 40, 50 cars. of every kind. And they're just throwing money like this to all their friends and all their enemies and all their family, and, because that's what you do. People leech off of you when you get rich. And you got more friends than you ever counted on. And it makes you feel like you got friends. So you're just party time. Drink it up. Enjoy yourself. Sure, I'll pay for your house. Sure, I'll pay for this. I'll pay for that. But now the reality is that consumption, ruins everybody. Because you got all these people out there making that house, making those cars, maintaining that house, terrible jobs. Terrible job. I don't care if you're working for Ferrari, that's an end job, and it's a limited job, and there's only 150 people in the whole world that's going to buy one of those cars because they only make 150 a year. So your job is limited, and it goes out limited. But with more baseball players and more football players and more basketball players, more rich technology, they got to build more of those cars, more of those kind of cars. But that changed dramatically. I said, no, we're going to try electric cars. And if we can move the electric car to an autonomous position and have the electric car goes where it's like $130,000 for this car because it's the beginning and everybody's paying for it, and then 5 years later another car comes and it's only $65,000, and then 2 years later another car comes and it's only $35,000, and then 3 years later another car comes and it's only $20,000 to $25,000. And by the time you get to that point, all the advancements, this is just with one company, all the advancements go toward battery and engine and development. So by the time you get down the line to that 12th year of this advancements of electric cars, they're driving themselves, and they're sitting on skateboard chassis. So there's hardly any problem in creativity to make a van, to make a truck, to make a car, to make an SUV, all the things that we could use in different sizes of cars. All we got to do is just make a manufacturing plant that builds that particular car, but all the things fit together. The motors fit together. If you look at a Model 3 to a Model Y, there's only 15% difference in that car. Same parts, same motors, same wheels, same everything, except for just a few things like the outside of the car, the height of the car. All that is a physical design. But everything inside of it, you got yourself Model 3 seats, you got yourself, all these different things. They're just crossover and being able to conveniently be used in the process of building cars. Well, think about that. 20 years from now, doing it this way, our fixing of it, our selling it, our getting used to it, and the cost of it will go down more and more and more, to the point to where cars are free. Everything about it becomes a completely free source. Right now, Tesla is in process of putting out a whole new line of cars that have no steering wheel. They take the place of Uber, they take the place of taxi, they take the place of many different ways for you to get around. Elderly people who can't drive, now they got a vehicle, and it's very cheap. There are new vehicles out now. They're called lease vehicles. And those vehicles you can never buy. And you can't really lease them long term. No longer than a month. It's a day-to-day thing. It shows up at your place in the morning. You get out, you get in it. It's a brand new car. It looks great. Seats 8 people. Got a steering wheel if you want to drive, and got no steering wheel if you don't want to drive. These are available now. And they're available, ready to be available all throughout California. So major cities, Santa Rosa, other places, all can have these things start coming into their lives. And that's like 50 years above Tesla. How can we be moving that fast? How can we be getting these kind of developments into our lives that fast? No one's asking for it. No one's saying, I won't buy another car unless I have this sort of thing. Nope. It is all overshadowing. Yeah. It's all in the event that all of this stuff has to go away. All of it has to go away. And to do that, you have to offer people an alternative. Yeah. And once the alternative comes in, and it's correct, you'll find every single manufacturer doing identically the same thing. And 30 years from now, we're all on skateboards, and we all get the skateboards from the same manufacturing corporation. Yeah? We all get the same motors from the same manufacturing corporation. Yeah? And it doesn't, because these motors are so specific, and they only need to do so much, yeah, then there's no need to have 100 different manufacturers putting out these motors. You could change the design of the motor within a week to a month nowadays. Yeah, so there's no real need for that. And that cuts down an enormous amount in the process if we share and care. We move into this place where sharing and caring comes about. Yeah. And this is going to be big. This is by the year 2050. Our opportunities, our housing opportunity, our health situation, our education situation, our transportation situation, whether it be airplanes, buses, underground tunnels that are traveling at 3,000 miles an hour, all will be reality, bridging into a state of reality by the year 2050. Yeah. And right now we're sitting in a place where we're thinking, oh, the only way we can get to the moon is on a spaceship. Yeah. Got all this power, build them bigger and bigger, Yeah. But Russia's building something else that I helped to start back in 1970. Yeah, when I was first starting my engineering process of developing through engineering. Yeah, I came up with an elevator to the moon, an elevator to space, an elevator to the space station. Yeah, to rendezvous points. Yeah, an elevator. Yeah, it takes about 3 days. And by the time you get out of the Earth's atmosphere, that elevator is moving at about 5,000 miles an hour. It's a rocket to the moon. But it's an elevator. It's not a rocket. Yeah? And it's got a little electric engine on it, and it just keeps pulling you faster and faster without gravity. You're up to 3,000 to 5,000 miles an hour within 2 to 3 hours. Yeah? No inertia whatsoever. Yeah? You're in a vacuum situation. You have no gravity. It's just like being on Earth in a tunnel, hoping we could do this someday. But we can do this today without rocket ships. Yeah, and this is Russia, and they've already began the development of building it. Yeah, so it's not like it's just on the game plan. But once we do this, we can get all kinds of equipment to the moon and build space stations. We can build elaborate processes in space rather than on the ground. Yeah, if you want to go to the Mars, you're better off building your spaceship in space than on the ground. Yeah, and if you have an elevator, you can bring it right up without any major cost whatsoever. Yeah, so that's the way it's going to be. And our cost in everything right now, we're landing ships, and they're landing. Yeah, and everybody's going, yay, that's a great thing. Yeah, but that's still crazy. It's still fossil fuel. It's still all kinds of things that could go wrong. Kind of thing. That's not good. I don't even like getting on an airplane. The wind shear, it's not good. Yeah. I'd rather have a much safer scenario. And space flight, transportation, everything is moving in that direction. Not to maintain the unsafe, explosive technologies that we have today. Yeah. Because imagine you have your gas engine. Yeah. This is a combustion engine. Yeah. An internal combustion engine, just on the brink of blowing up. Yeah, just right on the edge, constantly, and it's got gaskets being held down tight, everything, and if you don't oil it right, if you don't put the water in it, if you don't do certain things, that sucker's going to either freeze or blow, and you're not in a safe scenario. and you're sitting on top of a gas tank. And that's not a safe scenario. There's so many things that are not taken in consideration, that literally is wiping away our emotional body. Because we're walking into very unsafe scenarios. Every time we get in a car, every time we do something, even when we go out into the sun, because we don't have a relative understanding as to how much radiation can we handle in certain areas of the planet. Skin cancer, everything. How much can we handle? We have no real way of knowing that. Not yet, but we will. We'll have all kinds of new advancements that'll come together, and they're nano relationships, nanotechnologies, both inside and outside. Not a cream you put on, but a nano cream you put on. And that changes its spectrum. It changes its relationship to the light and the spectrum that's coming onto you. So you literally are being healed by being out in the sun rather than taking on the radiation of the sun. This is all normal, natural things in Shambhala. Normal things, But there's a long ways to get to these things. So imagine here we are now, we have an electric car. And in 2006, we had a video come out that stated, who killed the electric car? Well, who killed it was that no one knew that there was an electric car. Hardly anybody knew anybody who was driving an electric car. Hardly anybody rented, bought, leased an electric car. And so it was just like 3,000 electric cars out there, and they're in people's garages. You see them on the freeway, but no one says, oh, look, I got an electric car. You might tell your friend, you might tell someone else, but it really didn't get out there big to make anybody go, oh, I'm going to the GMC dealer or the Ford dealer or the Honda dealer, and I'm going to buy myself an electric car. Even though they were available. There was no advertisement. And nobody personally advertised it. So that's the reason why it died out. It was set up. It was set up because there wasn't a battery structure. There was no place for you to go to charge. There was no infrastructure for charging electric cars, none whatsoever. And no one was willing to put the money into an infrastructure of chargers. So it was set up, not to work. And if they had put an infrastructure in, it would be as though they're planning on letting it work, by allowing cars to charge when they're outside your house. So that didn't happen. So my thing was that I was going to overshadow the changing of this electric car process. And it was a big one because everybody smokes, everybody drives these fossil fuel cars, everybody wants to hit the pedal and go real fast. Well, the first electric cars, you hit the pedal and you really went slow. You're really slow. And, slowly but surely, you get up to 30 miles an hour and you're shaking, and it's noisy. And the engine's not noisy, but every bolt and everything is shaking because it's the cheapest car on the planet, And if you try to put electric in your already existing car, it's just everything doesn't work right, So in this process, the electric car is it's one of the main processes of changing humanity's direction, is the process of the electric car. And being able to bring the electric car into actualization was more difficult because it was a matter of getting the new group of world servers to recapitulate. So that meant that they had to put their money where their mouth was. There wasn't a bank, there wasn't a country, that was really willing to put a lot of money into solar or backing an electric car company, and that throughout time, if you did something new and advanced, then the competitors would go to the politician and say, hey, I have a special interest, don't let this company move forward, don't let them buy that big building, don't let them get the financing that comes from federal funding, don't allow this, So we have, for a long time, have had the industry of automobiles was just a small number of companies, and they would weed out everybody else. They wouldn't allow other companies to be evolved. Yeah. So it was a matter of overshadowing that process. How do I get this to overshadow into people and get it to where I get someone who's going to build a company, but build it through a process through my overshadowing of stimulating people to buy at a high level and have them pay for the car and then show that to the federal government and say, look, we have orders for 1,200 cars. Each one is $120,000 a piece. We're going to make $45,000 on each one of these cars. We need $45 million to buy Muni, you know, an industrial auto plant, the largest one in America. Yeah. And it was given to them simply because they structured how they're going to sell the car without dealership, directly to the people who buy it, and that the cars that you buy here are going to pay for the manufacturing of the future cars that will allow us to make another car after this, which would be a Model 3, and we would then lower the price of this one as time goes on, and we'd only be making money off of selling these cars, not through dealerships where we're losing money, yeah, not by many other ways, you know, of getting it out to dealerships is the fastest way to lose 60% of what a manufacturer is going to ever get out of the car. So by shutting that down and putting it out in a very specific way, it allowed them to close, you know, a financial identity as to how structuring a business in this way is very different than any other business. Yeah. And he pulled it off. Yeah, he did the same thing with the space program. He did the same thing with Tesla. But Tesla was an available scenario so that people can become openly involved in the process, which is a brand new thing. It's like electing someone and getting the right president, and you feel really great because now you're getting things done that you want done. Yeah, not some ridiculous thing. You know, we're all going to war. We're all going to do these sort of things, but more along the line of peace and goodwill and right relationship to humanity. Yeah. You know, so there is a business structure and there is politics that can be overshadowed in this way. So in economy, yeah, which is based on ecology, yeah, that's how this got structured. So when Tesla came out, it came out structured as an ecological system. Yeah. They do solar. Yeah. They do electric cars. Yeah, we have no, you know, fossil fuel. You know, we're not putting out any greenhouse effect is low. All these kind of things are going out, and those are things that actually are in the recapitulation, the soulful level of humanity, to where I'm going to do this. This is not another car dealer putting something else out like this. And then when they bought it, and then Motor and Car Trend magazine goes in and tests it. Okay, we are live again. Yay. All right, so overshadowing the process of trying to keep this planet functioning, yeah, in the way that it's going to in the future. The main process of this planet is that we've been here for more time than you could ever imagine. And due to corruption and due to the process of humanity, this thing's been wiped out over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. So we have, you can go back with dinosaurs, that's 500 million years, 500 million years. And yet people in science tells us that we weren't walking around when dinosaurs were here. So there's no way we were here 500 million years ago. And there's no way we were here 50 million years ago or even 5 million years ago, you know, so. Yeah, but the truth is that we are finding shoe prints that are 25 million years old, and we're finding hammers inside of rocks that are 50 million years old, and we're finding things that just simply is impossible due to their time reality. The science that we have today, we can actually measure time of an object. You know, so we have the ability to move through advancements beyond our wildest imagination. So really isn't too much to understand as to how it is I can get this planet to move to an electric car and accept it, and then also accept navigation and accept that computer AI is going to take charge of your car, and that it's going to drive around turns and you're not going to do a head-on, and for the first, until you actually do it yourself, it will take you hours and hours and hours of sitting there in nervousness and gaining faith. But you will never gain faith unless you're the one sitting there. You're the one who clicks it down. You're the one that sits back and holds the steering wheel very lightly and stays in charge, so that your car will learn how to drive itself. If you don't do that, your car won't learn how to drive itself. It requires these things. But it requires you to feel comfortable enough to pay attention and get it to do all the right things. Yeah, it'll drive itself. Yeah, it'll park itself, it'll drive itself, it'll get through town, it'll get through freeways, it'll do all these things. Yeah. But, okay. But the difficulty is, where is I don't even have a microphone. There it is. Oh yeah, I see it. Okay. That's a little better. I wonder why that's so low. Okay, so yeah, I think people can hear me now. All right. So the process is to get people through cultural shock. Yeah, it's about cultural shock. Yeah, and everything that keeps humanity from moving forward is the fact that they don't want to go through cultural shock. You'll stay in a marriage forever because you don't want to go through cultural shock. You'll stay in the same job forever. You'll be a basketball player, but yet you never wanted to be a basketball player. Your dad wanted to, or your coach talked you into it. All these things get you through life, and it inhibits your natural ability to receive the Lord and the Holy Spirit's guidance to take you to where you need to be and be the person you meant to be. Yeah. So it's the process of overshadowing that stimulates certain chakras that people have used in ceremonial magic. Yeah, the ones that tell you astrology is okay, and numerology is all right, and that mediumship is all right. All those things are down in your lower chakras. It's your lower chakras that finds that to be makes sense kind of thing. Yeah, because it's magic, and you are magical. You just don't, you've never been taught how to properly use magic. So since the magic is there, then people who are going to teach you without you learning your virtues, they're going to teach you ways that will be corrupt and self-centering and developing those particular characteristics. So that would be astrology, numerology, anything like that, that is quasi-pseudo magic. It is magic, but it's pseudo-magic, like Ouija boards. It's magic. It's pseudo-magic, but it'll open the door to a demon. Yeah, and you can't close the door once you open the door. And the same thing happens if you make a chart of astrology. It's the same as a Ouija board. Yeah, so it's really hard to close that door once you've opened that door. Yeah, because you've never been taught anything about opening or closing the door, that there's anything like that going on. No one said that on the instructions when you got your first Ouija board. Don't do this or a demon will come and you'll never get it to go away. Doesn't say that. Warning. Don't do that. But yet it happens every time. Every single time. It's in every movie. It's in everybody's experience. People's whole life is screwed up because they get out the worst one, the Ouija board. Yeah, so these things become part of our life. They become part of our past. There's lots of witches and warlocks that do tea reading when they don't have a Ouija board. Yeah, they do all kinds of, and those are actually things that are moved by the evil spirit right in front of your eyes, because you are the incarnation of that manifestation, and you have a desire that puts you in that room. So now you're the one channeling. So they're going to do teas or tarot. They'll say, you cut the deck. Yeah, because you're the magician, not the person doing the tarot. You're the magician. And the tarot reading you're going to get, you created it. Yeah. So this teaches you manifest destiny. It opens you up to the door of being, the next stage, as though you have some control over life. And all these things are chakras. They have energy. They're chakras. And when that chakra's moved in the wrong way, it takes vitality from every person you speak to. Food that you're going to eat, instead of receiving vitality from it, you take vitality from it. Yeah, there's a difference between receiving vitality and taking vitality. When you take vitality, you're 100% ignorant of what you're eating. You could be eating rocks, and your mind will tell you that's nutritious. That's what I need. I'm going to eat this cereal. Yeah, it had no vitality, nothing in it, but it's this process that allows people to think that this is what you need to put in your body. Yeah, and it's psychic. It's under an essence of mediumship. Yeah, so whether or not we can have right relationship to cereal or breakfast or a pair of shoes or clothing that you might wear, any choice that you have, whether or not you're a taker or a giver, will make the difference as to what you're going to get. Yeah. If you are a giver, which means that you receive from God, and you have humility in your life, and you never feel guilty as though you're doing something wrong, because you're receiving from God. So you would have to be innately behind the scene judging God for all the things that go wrong. And that makes you feel guilty, because that's a lie. That's a lie. That's not true. Yeah. But the process of life has to do with whether or not you get these lower chakras to work in a way that you're receiving from God into the lower chakra, and then you offer back up to God, and it has the same light God gave you is offered back without any impurities, pride, it made something of you, you gained anything from it, any of that can't be there. Yeah, it just has to be true. Yeah, and everything has a tendency to get unvalidated into a state of personal opinion. Yeah, everything has concrete mind to it. Yeah, So it's in the process of receiving that the concrete mind is laid to rest. Yeah, it's put into the brow. Receiving is a brow thing. Yeah, it's not like I work 10 hours and I get so much money. That's all very concrete, God in the machine, expected kind of stuff. Yeah, but in God's reality, what you receive, you're receiving from God. God's providing it. Yeah, and you got to be able to see that. And if you have any connection of thinking that God's providing it because I am a good person, or because I did something good, or because there's no because. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, all it is that God is constantly providing. Yeah, and the cleaner you get, your chakras go up because you're being provided. You woke up, your heart is beating. Yeah, you've got life. Yeah. And then what you see in your everyday moment is whether or not you're seeing it from yourself or from the perspective of God providing you your life. And that means anything and everything that comes into your life, TV, the radio, anything that comes into your life, if you find fault in it, if you find a failure to it, if you find a negativity in any aspect of it, you're subjecting it to a system. Yeah. But if it's pure, if it's clean, if it really is receiving, yeah, that means, on a completely empty note, just imagine like in the process of when anybody talks about a spiritual reality and giving or receiving, that spiritual side of it has to do with the aspect of you not expecting anything. Yeah. But your life requires of you in order to make sure things keep moving. Yeah. So you can't be just empty. Oh, I don't have any feelings and I don't have any thoughts, and you got to have all those things. Yeah. But they got to be correct. They got to be true to your true self, not having any kind of personality connection to it. Yeah. So it's if you're receiving and if you're now offering, that offering has to be 100% in an empty state, but in a state of perfection. Yeah. And the perfection is because it's not you. God is still flowing through you. Yeah. God still flows through you. Yeah. So that process of being able to receive is fostered through overshadowing. Yeah. You can join any kind of thing. You can join the Catholic Church, you can join Christianity, you can join Buddhism, you can join Muslimism, but I'm not talking about that. Yeah. I'm talking about something you've got to do, and if you don't do that, it has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with law. Yeah. A law of order, right relationship. Yeah. And that influence constantly moving on the planet. Yeah. So it's a matter of receiving that transmission and everybody moving forward, fulfilling God's plan. Yeah, because we all think, oh, God is providing, but it's so little. We can't make any sense of it. We can't say, oh, God provided this for sure. We can't. It's so hard. But I'm making it so that you can say God is providing this. This is not a Trump thing. This is not, a Tesla, individual person thing. Yeah. This is so big and this is so orchestrated. Yeah. And this fulfills so many things. And as time goes on, you start seeing hospitals slowing down in the process of emergency room, insurance companies going out of business because they're being taken over by the lease program that goes on inside the car that never gets in an accident. So it's so cheap. It doesn't run over a person. It doesn't run into a building. Doesn't run into another car. So why would you need insurance? Yeah? That goes down as relative reality takes place. Yeah? No accidents, no injuries, no nothing, no need for insurance. As that grows, we all also realize, oh, wow, people are dying less. People are getting less sick. Yeah. And it is part of the benefit that comes from overshadowing. Yeah. We can't say it yet, but you will say it. I stopped drinking because of the Lord. The Lord made me. I didn't want to. The Lord made me. Yeah. I didn't want to. I didn't want to become a monk or a nun. The Lord made me. Yeah. And it took 30 years before I actually, even though I was in it, realized I had to actually agree to it, which is very different than just doing it. Yeah. And it's the same with all forms of service. Anything, whether you're going to be a mom or a dad or anything, a business or, anything you're going to do, it's all service. Every bit of it is service, and every bit of it is receiving and letting it go back out. And as the overshadowing comes along, we get more chakras that are activated by the Lord, and we are literally sending out the light to create the plan. And that light directs the way and right before us, so that the next thing we do is safe, protected, provided, and encouraged by the Lord. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with, Elon Musk thinking he's building the next Cybertruck and it's all going to be, none of that is his idea. Yeah. All of it is coming from the future. And it's impressing as overshadowing. That's why it has so few glitches in the process of it, because it's something already been worked out. No one understands the master's ashram. Yeah. We're not in India anymore. We're not in, a thing where I'm wearing a loincloth and stuff and you can recognize me as a master. Yeah. I am who I am always, the master. Yeah. And everybody gets overshadowed in that process. So imagine in 2006, I'm working on trying to get this car thing going. And I've been doing this since 1971. 1971. I began going into engineering. I began the process of creating the first electric car, which was then built in Florida. But it was our university that put together the framing process of the batteries, the structures for the motor, the type of whether AC or DC motor, an actual use of battery that could go directly rather than 120 or anything like that, high voltage, breaking it down to lower voltage so that we can get more torque. Yeah, that was my impression. I wanted torque. We don't want to use wrong kind of motor. Just because an electric motor, you don't just throw an electric motor in there. You have to develop a motor that develops torque. Yeah. So we did that. We built it. We got a vehicle that went 75 miles an hour. That was amazing. And it went 0 to 60 in like 30 seconds. Wasn't the fastest thing in the world. Yeah. But it got up to 70 miles an hour. And we got 45 to 50 miles to a charge. Yeah. And that was a literal production car we were to put out of Florida. And that was in 1971 to 1975. Yeah. So in fostering that, getting that out, that put onto the books the fact that we did that history does exist. So here's my situation. In 2006, I began the process of looking for electric cars. Way before that, or right around 2000, I was looking for electric cars, and they were some available in 1995, but nothing was able to be built and established. And 2000 to 2005, they had started building cars. Yeah, so I'm like the poorest guy on the planet. No credit card, no credit. I haven't got a job because I'm a minister. And yeah, everything goes to help other people. I house people, I feed people. That's all I do, is take care of a lot of people. Yeah. So there's not a lot of bucks sitting in my wallet to go out and buy an electric car or anything like that. So I'm in process waiting throughout these years, and finally they're going to be sold. And and I got through a process where I started teaching more and more and more, and I started collecting out of my teaching. I would take 20% out of my teaching to establish the purchase of the first electric car for Shambhala. Yeah. And then I'd establish down payments for hybrids. Yeah. And I got all that worked out. Yeah. So in comes the ability for us to get an electric car, and I go on eBay, and there's an electric car, and this is what happens.
Intrigued by a 2003 Toyota RAV4 EV. Electric car. Imagine, no emissions, no gas stations, no tailpipes. It's secondhand, but the sellers say they love it. But you are too late. The RAV4 EV just sold on eBay for $67,300, a record price for a second-hand electric vehicle, and double what the original owners paid for it new. Sanat Kumar was the winning bidder, and he joins me now. Welcome.
Thank you.
So talk me through the economics of this decision. This car is 3 years old. It has almost 60,000 miles on it. Why is it worth twice the original price?
Well, I work in the area of ecology. I have a solar home, and I really wanted a RAV4. And this particular RAV4 has the new batteries, and it's in very new condition. And I only saw it just a day and a half before it was sold. And then in the process, it went up to the price that it did. But in my research, it was worth that value, so I went ahead and bought it.
Tell me a bit about this auction. What was that scene like in the final moments of the auction? Are your palms sweating?
They were very much sweating, and I was in shock. Even after the fact, after I had bought it, I just sat there in shock over the fact that I paid this much money for a car.
So what does this tell us about the times we live in when a second-hand electric vehicle goes for twice its original price?
I think the reason why this went up to $67,000 is because I have a major interest in it. Somebody else also had a major interest in it. I don't know what it was. But mine was because it's so hard to get a good electric car. that will serve the purpose that I want.
Wait a second. $60,000, I could buy, let's see, I see an ad here for a 2003 Hummer 2. Now, it sold for a deal. It's only $26,100. That's about a third of what you paid for that RAV4, and nobody will mess with you in traffic when you drive something that big.
Yeah, but I'm an ecologist. You know, and when you're an ecologist, you really get off on being an ecologist rather than driving this great big Hummer. I mean, I just pass by those gas stations, and I just go to where I want to go, and I come right back home, and I have my own little gas station here at home that I plug into the solar system that I have hooked up for electricity, which costs me absolutely nothing to drive this car.
So now you work at a Tibetan center there. You teach Buddhist philosophy?
That's right.
So how does this purchase tie in with those teachings?
Harmlessness, complete environmental harmlessness, and proper attitude toward economy.
Sanat Kumara was the winning bidder of the electric RAV4. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I went to Tesla's little workshop, and he's building electric cars in a garage in a way, in a small dealership. And I was doing the same thing at the same time. I didn't tell him about it. You know, didn't want to be a competitor. But I had ordered his car, you know, the only one that he had available. He wasn't building it. It was being built in Europe. And he had it shipped over to the United States, and he would put batteries and the whole system in it. And that was really cool. And I was stuck having to do the same thing. My cars was coming from China. They already made electric cars. So I was able to get pre-developed cars that were made for electric cars and then have them brought over, and I would design what would be the battery system and what would be everything else that went in it and how it, you know, everything worked. And so I spent 2 years developing and designing electric cars and have them delivered, and then I'd break them all down and take them to another shop and redesign it again using a different engineer that was more complementary to my design. And after that, it was around 2010. Yeah, and I decided that after signing up for Tesla, because all this was to stimulate Tesla. It was to get Tesla to buy the Muni manufacturing plant, and which is a Toyota plant. And I bought the RAV4 because I wanted Tesla to work with Toyota and redevelop the RAV4 and put it back out. And also to support the building of his own Tesla car and to stimulate the process of building a great deal of electric cars at a much cheaper rate that people could afford. So that was my goal. That was my incentive. So I would go to his place and I would drive his car and I would make comments and I'd say, no deal. You know, and it was shocked everybody. It's like, what? You don't like our car? And I said, no, it's not for everybody. It's not hardly for anybody, you know. But, you know, you're going to make a sedan. And they looked at me in shock. And said, well, you know, like as though I'm, you know, they're not going to say anything because it's all this competitive thought, you know. And I said, no, you're making a sedan, and I'd like to take my deposit on this car and move it toward the sedan. And they went in, talked to the manager, and came out and said, okay, we'll tell you, we're making a sedan. And it's going to be called a Model S. I said, yep. And I said, so let's do this, And so I had to wait 2 years for the Model S to be produced. And I got number 237 in the limited edition. So the very first Model S to come out. I got it, drove it, and I began the process of finding quite a number of things that were unsafe, and communicated with them in relationship to their braking systems and other things that, wouldn't work right for anybody if they had the car. So due to the fact that it's all software developed, my emails was able to be fixing the car within 48 hours. They would give me a software update. And they'd fix all the things that I pointed out. I did some mechanical changes, where the foot pedal is at for the brake. I changed that because it's unsafe. And then when the next Model S came out, it came out with that foot pedal exactly where I put it. And all the things that I designed, like cup holders and other things that weren't in it, I got together and put those in and everything. And then the very next model comes out, and they all come out with those things as standard. So then, up comes a Model X, and so I immediately, I have to get every one of these cars because I'm the guy who's stimulating him through overshadowing, and it's not a matter of me going in, shaking hands, and making a deal, making money or something like that. That's not my thing. My thing is to get this provided out to humanity, and have hundreds and thousands of employees under this industry that will make solar and batteries and cars and pickup trucks and vans and all the things that we need, including underground tunnels and things like that, and spaceships. All of that is what I'm supporting. So each one of those things, supporting the Model 3, supporting the Model S, made it possible for people to buy the Model S. I purchased the first 237 people to put money down to get the Model S going. He needed thousands, and it wasn't happening fast. It was very slow. People were going, oh, I don't know, I can't drive the car, I don't know, and then I put mine down, and within less than a week they all sold out. So that boosted it up dramatically. And then as soon as the next thing comes up, the Model X, I'm in there on the very day that you have the opportunity to buy it. I'm down, I buy it. Shoot, thousands of them that get sold. Model 3, I do the same thing. The very day that it could be made available, I buy it. So Sonic Camara is in there, and my car is the car of Jesus. So, and they don't know this, they know I'm Sonic Camara. But when my car goes there, they put up a sign that this is Jesus's car. So, something's going on. So, and we were given the opportunity to walk through the factory and be shown everything. And, because we've been doing this from the very first day these cars got to be built. The very first beginning when the manufacturing process is going on, we were standing in the building. So all of this is being ushered through overshadowing, but I have to do it personally because it's not something inside the culture. It's outside the culture. So I have to, just like doing the rockets and doing all the things and making space shuttles and, safety situations for us to go into space, I had to do all those things personally because it's not something we have a culture that brings it in. So that's where your chakras are at. Your chakras are involved with your history from the past. And you have what's known as the Akashic records stored in your chakras. That's why I'm so bright. That's why I understand so much, so clearly, so quickly. Because I have chakras, and they function, and it allows me to tap into the Akashic records. So I'm not missing anything, and all of it is the truth, because it's already happened. There's no, we're not trying something new. This is something old. So the process of the chakras have to do with our spiritual, divine life, the tree of life. And every one of our chakras have a different element of quality that gives us life. And right now, I'm doing my best to give you one chakra. One. Just one. And that's in your sacral center. Yeah? So I'm hoping within the next, and that sacral center is causing more problems on the earth than you can ever imagine. Yeah? That sacral center is causing all kinds of things through gender, sexual relationships, perversion, pedophilia. All these impurities are coming up because I'm messing with the sacral center. Yeah? And now everybody's going to start getting judged. And you better get your shit together fast or you'll be found out. Yeah? And this can all be done without being found out. All you got to do is just know that what I'm saying is a matter of fact. Yeah? And since it's the sacral center, yeah, it is the sexual center. It's the first center of right relationship. So there are more laws based on sexual relationship than any other chakra. It's the chakra that bases everything on whether or not we have a foundation and we can move forward. We have nothing to stand on, nothing, unless we have that relationship together. Or we're going to constantly reincarnate with people who are our enemies. Yeah? And they're going to, because of karma, they're just going to come back to us and they're going to be aunt this and uncle that and cousin this and, you know, your sister-in-law or brother-in-law or, you know, your job opportunity you can't get out of because of some weird thing. Yeah? All tied in to that chakra. Yeah? And that chakra doesn't have the ray that's supposed to have. Your brow isn't functioning. You have no brow whatsoever. Yeah? Because everything's been moved down into these other chakras. And you're being manipulated by the misuse of those chakras rather than you being empowered. So overshadowing empowers you. Yeah? It heals you. Yeah? But it causes a healing crisis. So I'm just saying, in the chakra that's being dealt with, the only one that's being dealt with is your sacral center. And when you go through what I call the dweller on the threshold, and it's your worst time, it could last your entire life. Yeah, that process that, you know, oh my God, I'm dying, I'm sick, I've got all wrong going on. Yeah, that's your dweller on the threshold. Yeah, and you're gonna make it through it. Hopefully, you know, you'll make it through it. Yeah, but the key thing is to be able to allow that chakra to go back into right order. Yeah. So you purify everything. Yeah. You just give yourself extreme purity. And if you're in the opportunity of being pure, like if you're in a marriage relationship, then you have to be honest, you have to be trustworthy, you have to be kind, and you can't project and think that the other person is not the same. Yeah. They may not be the same, but you aren't here to judge them about that. Yeah? You're here to deal with yourself. And if you heal yourself, you'll find that the people you're with get healed too. Yeah? You're not blocking the Holy Spirit of overshadowing that's in the world. Yeah? If you just focus on healing yourself. Yeah? So you can't go by, well, this person does it, that means I could do it. You know? Or I find reasons as to why I can continue doing this. Yeah, none of that is part of your sacral center. Yeah? Your sacral center is a very simple thing. You get up in the morning, you have breakfast, you know, you brush your teeth, you go through a very simple reality of life. Yeah, but the wrong sacral situation makes every single act a chore. Brushing your teeth, pain in the ass. Taking a shower, I don't know, maybe tomorrow. You know? Everything is a pain. Yeah? But if the Holy Spirit is in your sacral center, then everything you're doing is like, oh, this is the nicest shower. This is, I don't know, my toothbrush is just so nice. It's a great little toothbrush. You know? I finally found some nice toothpaste I like. You know? Every day, it gets better like that. Every day, because this is going away. And if that's not going away, every single person around you has karma and they can't figure out why. I forget, I wasn't sure, I didn't understand what you said, oh, I forgot what you asked, all these different things that people feel like they're incomplete. They're not capable, they're not good enough. Yeah. They have shit that goes on because of these chakras that put them into the play that other people are not purifying themselves, and it's affecting the whole of everybody else. Yeah. So overshadowing is the main thing. And that's my key, is overshadowing. Knowing that overshadowing is happening and that it's happening to stimulate, in humanity, it's happening to stimulate your chakras. But in a new group of world servers, they already have their chakras in place. And that way I can fulfill a plan, and I'm really not too much caring about the working out of the plan in relationship to people behaving. Yeah? Because there's going to be pedophilia coming up like crazy, all kinds of weird shit coming up like crazy, because there are people far from willing to change. And the culture is being transformed into not tolerating these behaviors and not accepting this kind of gender, male, female split kind of scenario. It might be okay for a while, but after a while, it becomes a discerning factor. Even to the person who's doing it, they get a nervous breakdown. They want to go back. How am I going to get that back? I cut it off. What's going to do now? Yeah. And that whole process is going to change, where we don't have those options and opportunities anymore, because this chakra, the one at the brow, is the one that keeps you straight. Yeah. That's where the Lord taps in on you. Yeah. That's where the Lord breaks up your concrete mind, allows you to go through cultural shifts and changes by giving you revelation. Yeah, life is provided by God, and there's a plan, and it's not yours. It's not your plan. Yeah, but you're included in the plan. It's just that you got to have this cycle of offering and receiving, offering and receiving. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, that's good. All right, so let's do puja. And we got the computer back. That's nice. Okay, just repeat after me. I invoke the power, the love, and the wisdom of my ashram, soul, and monad. To guide me into the right activity in the plan. To clarify and stimulate my mind. To transform and transmute my feelings and emotions. To energize and vitalize and heal my physical and etheric body. So there is a normal flow of energy in my physical and etheric body. Through this day and every day, I ask this in the name of the Christ to serve the One. All in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I use a body. That body is not me. I serve the group, and in this serving live within the body, detached, a son of God. I know myself. I infuse a body. I am its life, and in that life shall I see life. That life is known as love. I am the love of God. I know the Father, and I know His life is love. I am the body and its loving life. I am the self, whose quality is love. I am the life of God Himself. The Mother, Father, Son, am I. Behind these three stands the unknown God. That God am I. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of mankind. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of mankind. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men and women, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, we call the race of mankind. Let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. I call upon the one most high God. To let the disciple know the nature of his Lord of love. Seven, the aspects of love of God. Seven, the colors of the manifesting one. sevenfold the work, seven the energies, and sevenfold the path back to the center of peace. Let the disciple live in love and love in life. The soul is the Son of God, the product of the union of spirit and matter. The soul is an embodiment of consciousness of mind, the expression of divine intelligent awareness. The soul is a unity of energy, vibrating in unison with one of the seven ray lives and colored by a particular ray of light. The personality of the soul is the embodiment of love, applied intelligently, producing an attractive form which will serve to express that loving intelligence. The soul is intended to be the embodiment of divine purpose, applied in great active creativity, which produces the power of creative love. We are born of the love of Father for the Mother, of the desire of life for form. Express the love, the magnetic attractiveness of God's nature, and the responsiveness of form nature, and the I am consciousness itself of the awareness of deity in life.
Okay, just relax. Okay, just open your eyes. Okay, there's a number of things. I mean, I'm one busy guy. I got a lot of things going on. I'm taking care of millions of Native Americans. And I've reconnected with them. I was born as a Native American. My father was Blackfoot, my mother was Cherokee, and I was raised in a Native American family. So I know what it's like to be a Native American. And we've had a great deal of problems. Our houses could be taken at any time. We could be kicked out of a school. We had to lie and say we weren't Native Americans. So the difficulty in the Native American nation is that we don't own land. We're caretakers. We're humans. And in that relationship, for thousands, 40, 50,000 years, Native Americans have lived on this continent. And over the last 300 or 400 years, they really established an extreme amount, millions and millions and millions and millions of Indians lived in this land. And we had cities, we had towns, we had beautiful farming, we had all kinds of things that we had developed. And in that, we would live in the area of Kansas, northern Wyoming, and all these upper areas, and especially even here in Northern California. And in that, here you could see a picture here of where Trump went and gave a speech and all that, and was very irreverent to the Native Americans, didn't ask if it'd be all right if he did that, because it's actually their land. And we're trying to make this clear, that we actually own land, not that we want to sell it, but we have been given the legal right to live on that land, which is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of acres throughout the United States. And one of the first places that we were able to get back our land was Oklahoma. We got it back yesterday. And how that worked wasn't easy, but it took a lot of overshadowing. And my meetings with the families and the nations, and they're passing around this reality that they've found White Eagle. They've found the one that they know to be the Messiah in their group, in the Native Americans, and that's me. So now they're taking that in, and their chiefs and their nation is gaining the Spirit, the Holy Spirit that comes from me. And it's affecting this nation because they're the caretakers of this nation. And if you want to be here, you're going to have to negotiate with them. Yeah? Because you're going to find that your states are going to lose half of their state to the Native Americans. Every state. Half the state goes to the Native Americans. The first one we did was Oklahoma, and this is what happened.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled Thursday that prosecutors in Oklahoma lack the authority to pursue criminal cases in a large chunk of eastern Oklahoma that remains an American Indian reservation. The justices ruled 5-4 in favor of a man named Jimcy McGurk, who was convicted in 1997 by an Oklahoma court of raping a 4-year-old child. The court agreed that the site of the rape should have been recognized as part of a reservation based on the historical claim of the Muskogee Creek Nation, beyond the jurisdiction of state authorities. Conservative Justice Neil Gorsuch joined the court's 4 liberals and the majority. The ruling voided McGurk's sentence of 1,000 years in prison but he could face a new trial in federal court rather than state court. The ruling means that for the first time, much of eastern Oklahoma is legally considered reservation land. More than 1.8 million people live in the area at issue, including roughly 400,000 in Tulsa, Oklahoma's second largest city. Robert Miller is a professor at the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law at Arizona State University and a member of the Eastern Shawnee tribe in Oklahoma. He says the court's decision today for Indian country was extremely exciting.
For the last 20 years, the tribal nations have lost most of their cases in the United States Supreme Court, and we have come to fear cases in front of the Supreme Court.
Miller says Justice Gorsuch has turned out to be a significant appointment for Indian country, and this decision, he says, will have a huge impact.
The short-term impact is that the Creek Nation just found out that its original reservation boundaries from 1832 are still in place and that Congress has never removed them. This is going to lead to a new relationship between the Creek Nation and Oklahoma in the short term. There will be tons of issues to discuss, to settle, to compromise, to negotiate.
The state of Oklahoma will react strongly, Miller says.
Oklahoma has claimed there's going to be chaos, and that thousands of inmates that are currently in prison will be using this decision to try to get out of jail. The Supreme Court majority discounted that. They don't really think there's that many cases, and we'll just see what happens. But I love a phrase that what Justice Gorsuch and the majority wrote, that we cannot guess these future implications, but we certainly cannot let the possibility of future changes prevent us from saying what the law is today. So the court is upholding this 1832 treaty that the Creek Nation signed with the United States and is holding the United States to those promises.
There will also be long-term implications for other tribes, Miller says.
Other tribes in Oklahoma, my own tribe included, are going to read this case and are going to wonder if their original boundaries are still in place. So this could lead to all sorts of negotiations, maybe other litigation in the future.
Miller describes Gorsuch as a judicial poet.
He begins his opinion with the line that on the far end of the Trail of Tears was a promise. That, to me, that rings kind of poetic. And the promise was of the Creek Nation reservation. And Congress has never taken it away. So that's why the majority holds that Oklahoma had no jurisdiction over this defendant, this Mr. McGirt, because it was Indian country. It was the Creek Reservation.
Tribe members who live within the boundaries are now set to become exempt from certain state obligations, such as paying state taxes, while certain Native Americans found guilty in state courts may be able to challenge their convictions on jurisdictional grounds. Julie Tabo, VOA News.
So don't get confused, which is what's going on. The main, you hear a person in prison, you hear a legal situation, it has nothing to do with that. Nothing, yeah. What it has to do with, which is underlying in everything they're saying, is the fact that there is a treaty, and we have lots of treaties, and almost all the treaties have to do with landmass, large masses of land, and some that are illegal treaties where you've been moved from proper landmass, which would allow us hunting. It would allow us to live and exist rather than live in the most desolate place on earth where there are no animals and no way to grow anything, which is where most of them are at. But if you go back just one treaty, maybe two, and they have not been completely eradicated, they're there as legal rights because they were based on humanity. And the other ones were based on prejudice and death. Oh, man. The other one is based on prejudice and death and hoping that all the Indians would be eradicated, and by the time this comes around in 100 years or so, there'd only be a couple hundred Indians on the planet. So all this would just go away. But that's not the case. It's not what's happening. So now, if you study a little further, you'll also find that we're gaining legal rights in relationship to our oil rights. We have stopped the pipeline. Look it up. You'll see that the pipeline is no longer going on and that they've stopped it. And that was a really big thing, but it's not a big thing in the news. but it is a big thing, and it's going to make a major difference in the relationship of Native Americans. Yeah, because we don't want to sell oil. We're not interested in selling oil. We're not interested in a pipeline put through our land for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, but the real reality is that the human rights that this culture can swiftly turn over and do the right thing from the heart, and the seventh ray, yeah, the relationship of the sacral center. It's all about the sacral center now. Everything is about that. And it's about how we deal with people in a humane way, and whether or not we relate to them as an equal. Or do we relate to them in some other delusionary way? You know, whether we're subservient to them or they're subservient to us, or whatever way you want to look at it. But the truth is that we're equal. Yeah, we all were born equally. We're all going to die equally. Yeah, no matter how great a person you are, you're going to die alone, and you're going to die. No matter how great a person you are, you're going to come through the womb, you're going to suffer, and you're going to have to breathe and eat just like everybody else. So there really is no silver spoon. You know? There really is nothing special. It's just in your own mind and what other people tell you. Yeah. So like Buddha, you got to be able to step in, you know, in an incarnation where you have all hell surrounding you. Your father is a king. Your mother just got killed. Yeah. The hierarchy is coming to get you, and everybody turns them away. And you're left in the middle of all this. Yeah. And you got to be able to walk through that. You got to come out of it unscathed. You can't judge your father. You can't judge anybody. You can't hold anybody down for having done that to you, because just like Jesus, forgive them, for they do not understand. Yeah? It's a seventh rate thing. It's where the culture is at in the moment. You got to be ready so that when you reincarnate, you're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you have to use your skills of humility and grace. Let everybody else, their bullshit that comes on you, let it all go off your shoulder. Yeah? And stay with integrity. That God, you're the child of God, you're here for that reason. You're a humble person. You're a simple person. No matter how great you are, you're a humble person. You're a simple person. You may have great achievements, yeah? But you're going to live a humble life and a simple life. Yeah, no matter what comes your way. Yeah, whether your mother and father's the richest people on the earth, you will be a humble person and you will live a simple life. You have to do that now so that when those opportunities come, you don't fall into it. You may have a Muslim mother, you may have a Jewish father, you may have, you know, and you can get killed for being in that relationship, just for having human rights. Making choices. You got to be ready for that. Your seventh ray has to get strong in this life to provide for you to make the right choice, because it's up to you to make your choices. It's not up to your mom. It's not up to your dad. It's not up to your neighbors. It's not up to your religion. It's up to you. Yeah, you have to get through it, and you have to come out spiritually. And by the time you hit 20 years old, none of that is going to be a part of you. You're going to come back from your previous lives and recapitulate and be like me. Yeah? Where I'm this California guy and an Indian family and everybody smokes and drinks, but I didn't. Yeah? I was absolutely right. Yeah? I did all the things through humility. Yeah? And it took, military, you know, everything pushing at you, telling you, you're nuts, you're crazy, you're insane. Yeah. But I know my experiences are going to be your experiences one day. Yeah. And I made it through it. You got to make it through it. And you can't count on me to get you through it. You're going to count on my ability of having gone through it. Every initiation that's ever been done on this planet, I fulfilled and mastered. So that's your pathway. Yeah? You walk down my path, you deal with it correctly, and there's no other way to do it. You got to use the chakras correctly, in order to get to the next chakra. And by the time you're 30 years old, you'll have at least 3 or 4 good, strong chakras working with you and God and the plan, and you'll be a very wise being. Or you'll be the same as you were in a previous life, held down and lying to yourself and not able to make it through anything, simply because you're in wrong relationship to your truth. You didn't go humble. Yeah. So it's just, I'm not the only one that's going to go through this. Everybody's got to go through the exact same thing. Yeah. Every single person. And it could be like 100 lives until you come up with this difficulty, to where you're in the difficulty, but now you have the consciousness enough to realize this isn't real. This isn't true. I have to be humbler. I have to be quieter. I have to be calmer. And I'm going to see through this thing. And I will stick up for myself. And I will find my true self. And it doesn't matter what name they give you when you're born. It doesn't matter what they say you're going to be a football player, or they say you're going to, doesn't matter what they say. What does matter is your self-realization. That's the only thing that matters. And you can only get that through these chakras and overshadowing. All the masters are overshadowed by the same Lord. Doesn't matter who you are, you get the same Lord, you get the same chakras, and we all go through the same path. Don't believe in Oprah. Don't believe in the universality of the Pope. That we all choose our path, and whatever path we take, it'll all lead us to God. That's absolute bullshit. There wouldn't be so many Satanists out there. There wouldn't be so much going on. That is the biggest lie that'll ever be told. So just know that you're going to go through the hardships of being a spiritual initiate, or you're not. And if you're not, you're not. You got to get humbler as possible, and then you'll go through the dweller. And your humility will get you past that dweller, and you won't die. You won't commit suicide. You won't do all the things you're saying in the middle of that dweller process. You'll come out the other side, and you'll wonder, how did I ever say that? How did I ever feel like that? Why did I do that? And after a while, you don't even think that anymore. Because it's self-forgiveness. When you forgive, you forget. It doesn't have any existence. All right. That's it. Enjoy. Peace on earth. Goodwill to all of you.